Welcome, folks, and welcome, Helen. It is so exciting to be
Hi.
having this live conversation with you.
Yeah.
And I have to say, this is one of the most wonderful memoirs that I have read, and I can't wait to dive into it and really sort of pick out some of the best bits about this story.
Thank you.
So, for those of you who haven't yet heard of Helen or haven't yet seen any of her online stuff, Helen is really, just for me, someone who is so bravely opening up conversation around suicide, what it means to heal the past, and really coming out and talking about secrets that have been kept for a really long time. So I'd love to really start quite broad with this book, Helen. What was it like to write a memoir about material that felt tender and about secrets that had been kept for such a long time?
Well, I mean, this has been a long time coming. This book. So I made a promise to myself back in 1981 that I'd write this book,
Mm.
but I knew that I had to wait until my parents died. So that may sound weird, but I did. If anybody is grappling with with writing a memoir, you'll know the kind of real challenge about how much you put in of people who are still alive. And I
Yeah.
knew that I couldn't actually write this until my parents had died. So my father died in 2014, my mum in 2017. So I started edging towards doing it. And then my mum left this extraordinary confession
Yeah.
um, that she was gay, and she had been all her life, and she left that to be found after she died.
Mm.
So that was, I was kind of, still, that was such a huge revelation because I had no idea. My
Yeah.
kids had no idea. Her younger sister had no idea, and she kept it secret for so long. So I suppose what I'm saying is really I was processing the reality, the lived experience in my body of what it's like having these secrets, and then starting the process of writing. And a lot of people have said, "Oh, do you feel better now you've written this?"
Mm.
And I do. I mean, I certainly feel like it's been a terrific thing about to kind of claim agency over my story and get my story, my family's story out there in a way that
Mm.
feels true. So it's like a true aim. And it took me a while, I think, in terms of the writing. If I'm honest, it felt like I was kind of going round and round a crater of a volcano, and then just getting creeping in and creeping in.
Mm.
And I mean, you have helped me so much, Gabriela, in this whole process. But I remember, one of the things, I mean, I was creeping around and round and round, and I wasn't actually finishing the book. And then you said this amazing thing, which was, "Well, Helen, can I just check if have you actually written the da 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 da?" And I went, "Well, you've written this bit and this bit." And you said, "Well, Helen, if there's no book, there's no book." And I can just
Mm.
remember saying to you, "So could you just explain that a bit more?" As if another way of kind of procrastinating the whole
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
business. But
Yeah.
anyway, I kept circling. And another bit of terrific advice is, find the place that hurts and go there,
Mm.
which is, that it does need bravery, because you kind of, you there's the ego is protecting you, going, no, don't go there, have a
Mm.
glass of wine, or just go for a walk, or I mean, you talk to your daughter, do this, do that. But
Yeah.
ultimately you need to drill down and meet that real commitment to yourself, and find that place of raw honesty. I think that's, and then kind of, it took me about a year to get there. I was doing the
Mm.
circling for a long, long, long time. I wrote
Yeah.
tons about my mum's going into a care home, which, fascinating to me, maybe not fascinating to other people. But I started, and I was drilling it out, and then I wanted to make this story beautiful. I
Mm.
wanted to make it beautiful so that it flew out there into the world and that people could read it. I didn't
Yeah.
want, I didn't want it to be a misery memoir. I really
Mhm.
wanted it to be inspiring and, helping other people who maybe have had trauma or grief, or some really tough stuff in their lives, and goodness knows a lot of people are really facing some difficult times now, and then give them the opportunity also to think, actually there is a place beyond this. There is a place where you can be uplifted, you can claim your life, you can work out what the lessons were that you've had in this incarnation, and then move forward.
Helen, so rich. There's so much in what you've said that I want to pick out. So let me try and go in some kind of order. I definitely want to talk about the raw honesty and the beauty, but I'm just going to put a pin in that and go back to something you said a little bit earlier on, which I think is going to be super relevant to people. You talked about having to wait until your mother and father had died.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious as to, did you feel that made it easier to write, or was there still a semblance of the memory of them and sort of patterns of behavior that you still had to break through?
Good question. I mean, I think I still felt, for a long time that they would be cross with me. I think I have that line in the book at one point about, that when I did the funeral for my mother, I was, I was brought up really to kind of as a people pleaser. They did their job that way really well, and that actually did me well later on, because I was a family mediator for 35 years. But I think I still was worried about whether they would be cross with me, and I had to kind of put that on one side, because but no, it was there, and also keep the possibility that I didn't have to publish. I could put it in the bottom drawer, and I'd done it, and then that was enough. But ultimately, when I started telling people the story, people outside my circle, then people's reaction was so, amazed, and people kept telling me, you've just got to get this story out there, because I think it will really help people. And I think that's, I hope that is the case. And I've had some amazing feedback. I mean, 16
which you deserve.
16 5-star reviews on Amazon so far, letters every day. So it's a brave read. I'm not underestimating the fact it is a, you need to take your courage in your hands to read the book, but I think it will be of real benefit to those people.
That's really helpful to, again, for people listening, that we can sometimes say, oh, well, when this has happened, I'll be able to write the book, but there still is that echo in the mind. So I love the way you said you just kept it there. You were aware of it, and you also gave yourself the permission to write it and then not take it further. So those lovely little strategies. I want to talk a bit more about what you said about it being a brave read, and go back to the beauty that you talked about. When I read this book, for me, one of the things that I found incredibly beautiful was when we were with you in moments after you discover about your brother's suicide, about his death. There are moments when we're with you and there's a love that develops between you and a friend of your brother's. And I actually found that incredibly beautiful. And the scenes that you tell through other people's points of view, to me, it has that sort of slightly fictional breath of fresh air. And I wondered, was that something that you intended? Were you actively seeking, how can I bring the beauty in? And were you actively trying to do that through creating these almost fictionalized points of view?
Yeah, really good question, Gabriela. I would say sometimes I was aware of it and sometimes I really wasn't. I think that first year I've described of kind of writing a lot about my mum in a care home, and circling around it. I kind of knew I needed to get somewhere else, and then, but part of it is just showing up. It's a bit like, just showing up, being consistent, writing. And sometimes the writing would be, I don't know why I'm writing this, I'm a completely crap writer, all those stupid voices that go on in your head. But eventually I sort of found this seam, almost like if I'm thinking of myself as a coal miner, and I found the seam of black magic or gold or whatever. And then when I was turning up and writing, it just came, You know, I mean, I find it really hard to describe it in any other way than that. It was as if my soul was writing this book through me. I wasn't really, I would say I wasn't thinking a lot of the time. I was just typing, you know, hunting and pecking as I do. So I still have only got 2 fingers that I use as typing. So, but I can do it quite quickly. And so the soul was writing through. And then when the soul, you know, when I really gave permission for that to happen, the soul would, you know, sometimes my soul would wake me up at 3 in the morning and go, you know what, in chapter 24 you need to put this bit in. So it felt like the book was flowing through me. And it also felt like, I mean, yes, it's a very powerful story for me, but you know, it was a very powerful story for my father, for my mother, obviously for my brother who sadly tragically died at age 20, and then his best friend, who I've called Nick Kane. And I thought it would kind of, I think, yeah, my left brain probably did think it's going to spring to life more if you can see it from other people's perspectives. And then, but even then, it felt like they were coming through me too. There's a chapter that I've written, which is from my brother David's perspective in the moments before he died. And when I was writing it, it just flowed. And then later on, when I did the audiobook, because I think, and my publishers had heard me on Woman's Hour when I stepped out into the arena and started talking about The Secret, and that was, you know, March 2020. They said, you've got to narrate this, Helen. I went, really? They said, yeah, definitely. So I did that, and then the chapter with my brother, I felt as I was talking that my brother was channeling himself through me. And the producer and there was happened to be a photographer there, take some photos for the publisher, and I remember kind of finishing it without having to stop at all. And then when I looked up, it was quite an intense experience with your headphones on, and you know, you're looking at the iPad with the script. When I looked up, they were both in tears. So
I'm trying to blink them away as I'm listening to you, Helen.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
You know, it felt like I wanted David to be able to tell his story. I wanted his best friend to be able to tell his story. And although those bits are fictionalized, I knew them really deeply. And I hope that I've been able to capture some of that and then give it out there as a gift into the world.
And you absolutely have. And it's so lovely to get a sense of that background behind you switching those points of view, because it takes this tragic experience, and rather than fixing it and freezing it and saying that we have to see it in only this way, we get a little bit like you sort of saying this circling. We do get to circle it, but in a very productive and beautiful way. The chapter that you write from Nick's point of view about the sheep, I mean, I remember I was lying on the sofa just thinking, this is the most glorious piece of writing. And it gave so much depth, the connection that you had with him. So I felt that, yes, it was a story about your brother's deeply sad death. And yes, it was a story about this secret that your mother had carried, but also it was a story of you, a woman who was just so forcefully trying to live whilst all of this was going on. And I just got a sense of your amazing energy. And it now just, you know, seeing where you've got to now, it seems like a wonderful place. So I'd love for you to speak about, how did you feel about writing about yourself in this story? Was that a challenge? Did you think, oh no, you know, this is about my brother and my mother? Or did you feel that it was easy to put yourself in and to start to talk about you as well?
You always come up with just the best questions, Gabriela. I mean, I think, so to start off with, okay, I'm writing a memoir, but I'm not taking on board the fact that I am a character in the memoir and I need to step in. And so actually, I think it was my publisher, because I was sort of talking to them about it, and my publisher sent me a link about you being the hero in your story and being a character, and I had to step into that place because because I mean, I don't know how, you know, you feel and our viewers feel, but I think very often, you know, when you read a book that really touches you, you go through the journey with the author, and you know, you see them and you feel them, and if it's relatable, then you think, yeah, you know, oh, I could do that. Or I mean, I'm reading at the moment a wonderful Raina Wynn's follow-up to The Salt Path, which was a book I really loved, and she's talking about her yearning for the wildness and you know, the beauty of the planet, and I'm with her as she's doing up her farm. So you need to step in, and you need to step in with all your flaws as well, and you know, the mistakes you've made. I mean, there's a chapter in the book, after I've heard about my brother's death. My father's called me, and I was in America at the time, and I fly back on the plane, and I'll put it in very quickly. I joined the Mile High Club on the plane with a guy that I just met, who I call Kashmir Man in the chapter. And I can remember I sent the draft of the book to a number of members of my family who I thought ought to see it before it, you know, went to the publisher. And my cousin Ricky, who's a classic car dealer up in Yorkshire, you know, think Geoffrey Boycott, and Ricky's not far behind. And so Ricky read it and he said, well, I think it's very good, Helen, but whatever you do, don't mention Kashmir Man. So, you know, but I thought, well, actually, no, I need to come from my own vulnerability here. I mean, you know, when we go through difficult events, I mean, that's putting it mildly. When we go through trauma, we don't always behave very well. We don't always behave in the way that if we waved a magic wand, you know, we would behave. But that's what happened, and so I got brave and stepped in there.
And I love that you did that, Helen, because that fits in with your mantra now, this hello, it's better to talk. And what are we doing if we're writing memoirs about our experience of trauma and about unearthing secrets if we're not able to tell the full story? You know, to me, reading that memoir is going to give so many people permission to tell their full story.
Thank you. I really hope so. I mean, you know, I think, well, I know so. I mean, the letters and emails I've already had have you know, people have said, right, I'm now going to talk to my mother about X, or I'm going to talk to my partner, or I'm going to talk to my child, or I now know that I need to do, you know, a poet was writing to me, and in a way, same way as I was sort of circling around different things. You can see in his poetry that he circles, he doesn't dare dive into the volcano. So he said he's going to do that more. So you know, I think it will, and we take courage from one another, don't we? You know, and I mean, you know, you inspire me actually daily. I mean, I've kind of got Gabriela around on my shoulder a lot of the time, thank the Lord. And you know, so that's really important. Sorry, just somebody's just coming to I'm going to ring. Okay, then, but you know, but the people who inspire you, kind of internalize them, and they can help you, even if it's just a little thing. So I think we can all learn from one another and learn to be courageous. And it doesn't mean that we're having to go out there with a full suit of armor on. You know, I think actually being courageous is about allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, and then telling our stories, and that's, you know, lots of people that I know who've over the years who've done that, and I kind of look at them and go, wow, you know, you did it. And I'm personally far more interested these days in memoir than I am almost in novels, because in novels, you know, they are fake characters. I mean, they're great as well. It's not to say I don't love novels. I do, but I really do love hearing what people are doing in this world at this time.
Yeah,
because we're in the most extraordinary time. You know, we're living in a very divided time. People are very divided from one another, and we need to kind of find our way back to one another, I think, and to be able to do those things that we're missing so much. I mean, you know, I've got kind of empty arm syndrome at the moment because I've got so many hugs I want to give people, but
Yeah.
there's so many kind of adventures I want to go on, and go to the opera and go to the sea, and there's lots and lots of things. I think the fact that we're having to miss these things at the moment will make them all the more special when the time comes again and we can meet up with people that we love, and that kind of thing.
Beautiful stuff, Helen. Let's go back to what you said about courage and vulnerability, because I know that when we look at your LinkedIn profile, there's this beautiful phrase, courage builder, and it's a space that you're stepping into. You've written this book. You see the important work ahead of you. So I'd love for you to speak a little bit about what it means to allow other people to build their courage, but also some of the courage that you feel that you're currently having to build now to keep walking this walk.
Yeah. Well, in fact, if I pick up on that one, Gabriela, I think there's always a dilemma, isn't there? I mean, the weekend before the book came out, 3 really tough things happened to me, and it didn't touch me directly, but it affected people that I knew, and I knew I was going to have to spend some time with those people to help them, and also I just wanted to actually just go under the duvet, pull it over, and go, oh, okay, fair enough. I'll just be a bit quiet now, and I'll just won't tell anybody about the book. But I mean, we're probably all here for a reason, aren't we? And I think now at age 62, I mean, I knew when I was 3 that I needed to be a writer, but my mum said to me, no, darling, writers don't make any money. You've got to be a lawyer first, like your father, and then you can be a writer. So I was programmed, and I did that work for 35 years. And I know I help people. I mean, I was a divorce lawyer and mediator, and it's often a very brave step for people to take to leave a marriage that is not, when I say not working for them, that's putting it very mildly. It may be very abusive. There may be coercive control there. And people don't always behave well, and there are times when one needs to step away for one's own mental health and for the children as well. So I did that work for a long time. I think it was good work, but now it feels that underpinning everything that I do is this desire to help people find their courage in life, and then to grow it. That's why. So it's courage. It's about building courage, and I've nicked the title actually from Brené Brown, who's a goddess for me. I absolutely love everything that Brené Brown does. Yeah, she's great, isn't she? So that's what she calls herself, and I thought, you know what, that's what I'm about. And I think courage can come in many, many forms. I mean, actually, when you're going through a really, really, really tough time, just enduring it, just endurance is about as good as it gets. Do you know what I mean? When the storm's blasting out there, you've just got, staying here on the planet needs courage. And then there are other times when we can start taking a step. And I think that sometimes if we think we have to take a huge step, we can pull ourselves back from it, but it doesn't need to necessarily be a huge step. It could just be a little step, but that little step itself takes a lot of courage, because it's something new. We're forging a path. We might not even be able to see it. We might be in the mist, and we just go, I don't know what's out there. But if we take one little step, which may feel like a big step, it is a big step, but we're then in a different place. And then from that different place, we start seeing other things that might come forward. So I've helped by you again, Gabriela, many thanks, but I've started my own YouTube channel, Hello, It's Best to Talk, and upload episodes every week on Wednesday. And this week our puppy Ziggy Stardust is in it for the first time, and inevitably I think he's probably going to take over the program, but that's fair enough. I
want to just go back to what you said about that courage can be taking a little step, because I think sometimes we assume that in order to be courageous, it has to be this Herculean, this massive act. But also, even going back further to what you said about wanting to go under the duvet just as the book was coming out and thinking, I don't need to tell anyone, sharing that to me is courage as well. The courage to show up and say, I want to be a leader, I want to be inspirational, but I'm also going to let you know that I don't feel like that all of the time. Because I think, to me, that's a courageous act too. So it gives people a sense of the full spectrum of who it means, what it is to be a writer and what it is to be a courage builder.
Yeah, I think, I mean, another thing that Brené Brown says is you can either have courage or comfort. You can't have both. Which is possibly true. The one thing I'd actually really just go, Brené, I wish she'd done it in a different way, is that she talks about courage stepping into the arena, and she uses lots of kind of gladiatorial, images. And I think, flipping heck, if I'm going to have to be a gladiator and fight lions, and nobody's going to come out of this very well, either the lion or me, I think I might just go back under the duvet. So I wish she'd called it something else, but of course now it's out there. We're all thinking about stepping into the arena, but we've got that kind of push me pull you, haven't we? And I think if life is a voyage, there will be some times when we actually can just need to go into port, go into harbour, rest a little bit, go under the duvet, do whatever we need to. But then, then we can, when the time's right and we choose the moment, when the tide is right, we can kind of move off again and then start discovering our new worlds. But I think, let's just keep it real. There's no way I'm going to go and fight lions, but if it's going out for a walk, you've got me. So, and adventures start with the first step, don't they?
Exactly, that first step. Yeah. I know you mentioned your YouTube channel, so let's finish up with really digging into this theme of the channel, which is It's Better to Talk. And it's such a brave act to start a YouTube channel. It really is. It's a commitment. You're really putting yourself out there. So I'm so thrilled to see you on that platform, and I'm so thrilled to see the amazing videos that you're sharing, the insights that you're sharing. So give us a sense of what you're hoping to inspire people with this theme of It's Better to Talk, and what it's like for you to suddenly be on YouTube and putting yourself out there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Well, I think, YouTube kind of aficionados will say you need to put 30 videos up before you even get anywhere near starting. But I mean, I've had some help. So wonderful Mehmet Niazi and Liam have been helping me to kind of put it out there in a way that I felt was kind of, palatable, because I want people to kind of enjoy the experience. Again, I don't want the YouTube channel to be a picture of me sobbing somewhere. It's always a bit of a risk of that. So the YouTube channel is talking about, it's better to talk about the stuff that matters. I mean, I'm actually not that great really at doing the small talk business. I mean, if anybody, I'm just really bored of talking about vaccinations and what else? I mean, I know it's really important, but I want to be talking about other stuff. I like talking about deep stuff. So on Hello, It's Better to Talk, I'm sharing the stories from the book to start off with, and telling people what happened. And then I'm moving towards now actually, really giving value to my listeners about how it is that we do some of the things which actually can be really challenging. So I've got an episode about forgiveness, another episode about singing, and so the last chapter of the book was about singing Handel's Messiah on the day that I should have been burying my mum's ashes, but singing again was a wonderful thing to do. And I'm going to be talking more about finding the courage within and finding the safe place to start telling these stories. Because when I say hello, it's better to talk, I'm not going out and saying, look, when you next see the postman, tell them about your first, your last divorce, because it isn't about that. It's finding somebody that you can trust to talk about this. I think one needs sort of to pay into the emotional bank account that we have with different people. I think there is a risk of oversharing. It's got to, you need somebody else's permission to tell your story, and you need to know that they're a safe person to tell that story to, because there are people in this world that you can tell the story to, and they won't take it well, or they might even use that information against you. So I don't want to kind of put the lid on for people, but I think let's choose the time to talk and who we talk to, and then build that community of people who want to build their courage and go out there in the world and do the wonderful things that we came on the planet to do, rather than get involved with people who are going to kind of cut the ground from under your feet. So there's we need to do this in, again, a real way, rather than kind of going out and telling our stories to everybody on the street.
And I love the way that you do reinforce that safety, that safe community, because I think that's why it's so important to have people like you doing what you're doing, because you act as a lighthouse for those ships out there to come and have that safe place to talk. So a little bit like what Brené Brown has created. She's created a community where people know they're going to be looked after. They know they can speak bravely. And I really get that sense from you, Helen, this beacon that you provide to both guide people and to give them the instructions of when to share, how to come from that place of authenticity, and how to do it in a safe way. So you're a treasure. You really are.
Oh, thank you. I'm probably getting old enough now to be a national treasure. So I'll aim for that. Maybe I'll cross out Courage Builder and put national treasure.
So what we'll do is we'll pop the links below. We'll pop a link to your YouTube channel. But where's the best place for people to reach you if they do want to reach out? I know you haven't yet got an official community online, but where's the best place for people to reach out? I know you say you've been receiving letters.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram, Helen P. Garlick, Twitter, Helen P. Garlick. My website should be going out next week after a 3-year, this has taken me a while, but that'll be happening. Right. So I think those are the best platforms.
Perfect. Instagram and Twitter, and we will put the link to your YouTube channel in the comments below as well once we've put this video out.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity, Gabriela.
Thank you.
You're a really special person in my life, but I think the community that you're building is just extraordinary too. So love and light to everybody out there who's watching this.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Helen. And for those of you who haven't, you can order this on Amazon. It's super easy to get hold of. And a real credit to the quality of the book and the cover image. When you first put that image up in the Facebook community, I was just like, that is a really powerful, beautiful image. So does everything about this book has just been done so well, the writing, but the final product as well. I'm just super proud of you, Helen.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me. And those of you who've watched live, those of you watching on the replay, do feel free to chat in the comments if you have questions as well. We will be checking back. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Helen.
Love and light. Bye.
You too. Bye.